Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXKO. Prese sa Signal Utso sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPM DXKO, ang radyo ronda dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sidyahan na may galaon sa katawhan, andang mo serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPM DXKO Radyo Ronda sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
God's angels guard and keep you all the way that you must travel, till earth's days are past. When blossoms fade and time is fleeting fast, in times of purest joy or pain and fear, God's angels guard you and keep you safe. Amen.
Are you a Filipino living in Middle East, Europe, Asia and the Pacific, USA or Canada? You are our story. You are our Filipinos World. The Filipinos World Saturday every 4 to 5 p.m. only here on RPM DXKO 1368.
Filipinos across the globe. You are watching live here in the Filipinos World. We are broadcasting live from Cagayan de Oro City, Philippines, powered by RPN DXKO Teleradio. RPN is an affiliate station of CNN Philippines. We are also live streaming via Facebook at facebook.com/RPN Cagayan de Oro 1368. Today is August 7, 2021, and we are celebrating the International Hangover Day. It is the day after the celebration of the International Beer Day, which was supposed to be yesterday. Every year on the day after International Beer Day, the International Hangover Day marks a day of recovering from that international holiday. It's also a day to learn about hangover remedies. One of the most common symptoms associated with hangover is the throbbing headache. People with hangovers might also feel sluggish, sweaty, tired, irritable, and nauseous. Many people around the world have tried to find a quick fix to hangover, and this is very interesting. In Namibia, the supposed cure for hangover is drinking buffalo milk. Canadians say that eating poutine after a night of drinking prevents a hangover in the morning. And in Ireland, drinkers bury themselves up to their necks in wet river sand. Haitians, on the other hand, practice voodoo in order to get rid of their hangover. Maybe some better advice to curing a hangover is to get plenty of sleep, stay dehydrated, eat bland food, and take an aspirin. Contrary to popular belief, what doesn't help is drinking alcohol during a hangover. So I hope all those of you who celebrated International Hangover Day may have eliminated that headache. So how do you cure your hangover, Nazh?
Well, Miss Agnes, I don't drink, so I don't get hangover usually. But happy International Hangover Day to those who are celebrating their hangovers right. Good afternoon, the Filipinos World. Assalamu alaikum to all our brothers and sisters in Islam. This is Nazh-Far, Mariwa, Berganio, your co-host for today. As we celebrate the International Hangover Day, the Filipinos World is so privileged not to have a hangover, but to get focused on episode 33, the importance of ergonomics in safety and design. With our guests all live from different parts of the world. Can you imagine that, Miss Agnes?
Yeah.
Different zones in one frame. We have Dr. Andrew S. Nevin, one of the most sought after world economists, and he will be broadcasting live from Abuja, Nigeria. We have also Mr. Reidar Rasmussen, CEO and owner of Labmodul A, and he will be broadcasting live from Copenhagen, Denmark. Together with us is our host, Mr. Paul Markevicius, and he's currently in Lithuania.
According to the National Security Council in the United States, workplace injuries happen every day, such as broken bones to back pain. Workers in all occupations and industries are exposed to broad range of injury risks. NSE states that workers is injured on the job every 7 seconds, which equates into 540 work injuries per hour, 12,900 work injuries per day, 90,400 work injuries per week, and 7 million work injuries per year. Can you imagine that, Nazh?
Wow. According to Dr. John Triano, who served as the only chiropractor in the U.S. National Committee for Quality Assurance that released its first spine physician recognition program in the U.S., back pain is one of the most common work-related injuries and often caused by ordinary work activity, sitting in an office chair or heavy lifting.
Let us have a quick understanding on the statistics and facts in a summary about back pain. Like 80% of Americans experience back pain at some point in life. 10% of the world's population suffer from lower back pain. Back pain is the #1 cause of disability worldwide. The Americans spend at least $50 billion annually on treating back pain, and women suffer from back pain more than men. Lower back pain becomes more common as one gets older, and 3 million years of productive life is lost in the U.S. every year due to back pain. 29% of Americans believe stress is the cause of back pain.
Over the past years, the occupational safety and health concerns has become increasingly aggressive in its enforcement practices for every employment sector. To enhance workplace safety in favor of enforcement with higher citation classifications and enhanced penalties and enforcement of health safety standards to reduce risk of work injuries within the workplace. We'll have more of these when we come back, so please stay tuned with us.
Labmodul manufactures a highly distinctive and exclusive range of interior solutions that combines functional excellence with design appeal. Solutions with integrated, innovative ergonomic features to well-designed workplaces. Our company is based on the inherent values that shape the core of who we are. It is through our living values that we continue to fulfill the promise of our ideal and environmental design standards. Each and every groundbreaking product we've introduced over the years has been the result of our team's hard work and dedication to provide our absolute best to who we care most about, who is our customers. Whether the job is big or small, our team is used to solving complicated tasks and make sure to get projects to successful completion. Whether it is local or global. This is why Labmodul is known as one of Europe's leading manufacturers of innovative system solutions for devices used in laboratory facilities, hospitals, and educational facilities. Solutions that can be easily adapted to the growing needs and workflows demands of the future. Labmodul, designing safe.
The spice is nice.
It's really good. I really recommend it.
It's like home. Everything's perfect.
It's absolutely delicious.
It was really, really nice.
Superbly marinated.
Customer service is amazing. My favorite Asian food involves right now.
It was genuinely the best, most filling meal I've ever eaten in my life.
The most authentic place to come for Filipino street food, spoon and rice.
Chemical storage, classroom interior design, school furniture, storage units for schools, and hospital system cabinets, you may please get in touch with Labmodul via email at info@labmodul.com or visit our website at www.labmodul.com. Welcome back, and you are still watching with us live here in the Filipinos World. The occupational safety and health concerns has its utmost concern towards safety and well-being of the workforce that has to consider ergonomically sound environment within the workplace.
Applying ergonomics principle, the study of the workplace as it relates to the worker can help prevent work-related back pain and back injury and help maintain a healthy back. But let us understand what do we mean by ergonomics and the benefits of it. Let's watch this video courtesy of Lumi, China.
People have heard the word ergonomics, but don't understand exactly what it is. For example, have you ever wondered why a handle might be designed with a certain groove or curve? Or why a sink might be placed lower than another? And why a computer keyboard might have a special shape? Well, the answer is, most of these designs improve comfort and convenience. It's the interaction between people and their environment. The beauty of these designs come from the application of ergonomics. The science behind ergonomic design involves the study of the human body, including how to design for improved health, better experience, and increased productivity. The result of ergonomic designs are products that meet the requirements of the human body. And of course, the workplace, whether it be the home or office environment, has become one of the primary areas of ergonomic product development. As an example, research shows that lower back pain is the world's most common work-related disability. In the United States alone, businesses spend $170 billion a year on costs associated with occupational injuries and illnesses, money that comes straight out of the company profits. So even though most of us may not look at the statistics regarding ergonomics and work-related injuries, most of us have experienced back and muscle aches and eye strain during our time at work. The answer for better health is to improve the way we work by investing in ergonomic products, creating a more active work life. Best of all, there are ergonomically designed products available, such as sit-stand desks, workstations, monitor arms, monitor risers, and an assortment of ergonomic accessories. So get your...
The term ergonomics comes from the Greek words ergon, which means work or labor, and nomos, which means natural laws. Join us this afternoon as we are graced by three ergonomically level-headed gentlemen. First, our host, Mr. Paul Markevicius, live from Vilnius, Lithuania. And we have also Dr. Andreas Nevin, the world economist, and he is broadcasting live from Abuja, Nigeria. And of course, Mr. Reidar Rasmussen, broadcasting live from Copenhagen, Denmark. Good afternoon, Paul. Welcome back to the Filipinos World. How are you?
Good morning, Agnes, from Lithuania. It's a pleasure to be broadcasting from my father's country to Nazh and to the Filipinos World in their afternoon. Our first guest this morning is much respected and very well known to us, Andrew Nevin, a close friend of the Filipinos World. Good morning, Andrew. Welcome back to the Filipinos World. How are things in Nigeria? You've just recently returned, I understand.
Well, good morning, Paul. Good morning, Agnes. Good morning, Nazh. Well, good afternoon for you. Yeah, I've just come back after COVID. I mean, it's obviously it continues to be a difficult situation in Nigeria, but I'm happy to be back and focused on what I do here. And of course, the weather is very, very nice.
Well, I can see from the background you're enjoying a much more pleasant environment than I am myself. But I'm happy to be here. So let's kick off our discussion. You know, as a world economist, I know this subject is not new to you. And, you know, we define ergonomics almost as a catch-all phrase for the process of ensuring the body is in an appropriate position when completing daily tasks. Sitting, standing, bending, lifting, all these movements require proper ergonomic position of our legs, spine, arms to promote comfort and productivity, and of course reduce the risk of physical injury. John Paulson, CPE and CEO of Uplift Desk, said, "Our bodies crave movement. We perform best when our work involves transitioning between varied, healthy postures. Ergonomics is all about the science of refining the design of products and tasks to optimize them for human use." So today, businesses spend approximately 170 billion a year on costs associated with occupational injuries and illnesses, expenditure that comes straight out of the company's profits. However, workplaces that establish ergonomics, safety and health management systems can reduce their injury and illness costs by 20 to 40%. These costs can be the difference between operating in the black or running in the red. So, Andrew, what would you say are the major factors that will shape the future of work in the current century if most of these workplaces start adopting an ergonomically designed environment?
Thanks, Paul, for that. Let me start out by saying, I mean, we think of economics as a powerful force that's supposed to kind of lead to the right answer, but unfortunately, in many cases, we don't get the result. I mean, the problem from an economic viewpoint with ergonomics is that even though the investment of it is certainly worth it for the country, worth it for the individual firm, certainly worth it for the individual, and we cited the statistics of the number of injuries for back pain in the United States. For example, I think it was 7 million people. The reality is that unless this is brought to the fore by people like Reidar, companies don't invest enough. They're not aware of the issues. They're not aware of the totality of the costs. That's why it needs to be highlighted. They're not thinking through the value of that investment. So, I'm sure, as I said, Reidar can tell us, I'm sure the investment in ergonomics for a company is probably, $10 to $15 for each dollar that would be invested. And yet they're still not investing enough by the numbers that we have there. So, but also if you think from a human viewpoint, I mean, people come to work. Most people want to work. I mean, hopefully work is fulfilling for them. The worst thing that can happen is the design of the way the work happens physically. Then ends up being debilitating. Because, of course, if you have a back injury or some other physical impact from work, it's not just a question of productivity for the firm. It impacts your life. You have the back injury. It affects how you interact with people. If you play some sports, your mobility, your day-to-day life on that. So when I look at these sorts of statistics, I think that the people like Reidar and other experts and leaders in the field need to step up with this communication so companies get to the right viewpoint. And if I take my own company, PwC, I mean, we've got 300,000 people globally. we do make some investment in ergonomics. People are at their computers all day, on that they're sitting all day. It's a very sedentary profession. I don't think we make enough investment. I don't think there's enough awareness within PwC, either the leaders of it, what to do, or the specialists, but also the individuals on that. And then the final comment I'll say is, I think the ergonomic specialists have exactly right. The body is made to move. I mean, my body, if I sit here, even, we'll sit here for a period here doing this show, my body wants to move. So how do you design the workplace? Because a healthy body is one that's moving, more often than we would otherwise do, just doing our kind of the sedentary tasks at a computer.
I mean, I forget what it's called, but there's a style of holding meetings. You probably use this in PwC, where nobody sits down, you stand up, because the theory is you don't waste time, you get to the point, there's no posturing, and it's a more efficient way of running meetings. I forget what it's called, but of course, from sitting too long, you'll have a problem of standing too long. Everybody will have maybe their own definition of ergonomics. I'm sitting here now, I fractured a big toe. Maybe at some point I'll hold up my foot to show you a very wonderful ergonomically designed shoe, which is the difference between my walking without crutches and, taking the weight off the toes. So, the back 2/3 of the shoe have been designed. Well, for me, this is life-changing. I can actually physically move from A to B. And it struck me that, if you look at the world of the disabled person, the omission of ergonomically designed environments, the simple ramp leading up to the supermarket, travel, getting on a bus, getting on a train, getting from A to B, for the disabled person, ergonomically often is a disaster.
Well, I guess, so you want a reaction, Paul, to that?
Well, yeah, please.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right for people that are disabled, but I'd also say I'm not sure we should be labeling people disabled or not disabled. Everything is on a continuum, right? So if you take, for example, a person who has the back problems caused by their working style, we don't call them disabled, but they have restrictions in their mobility, they have special needs. So I think that what I hope the ergonomics profession pushes us is to, let's design all of the physical interactions, the way things work, from building design to office design to warehouse design, supermarket design, factory design, so that it suits a wide range of abilities or disabilities in that, on that. And of course, we have another factor going on here, which is an aging population, and everywhere in the world, effectively, outside of Africa. And so we're going to have more and more people, they want to stay active in their lives. The totality of the work world, the social world, the physical world needs to be designed around people who aren't necessarily 30 years old and ably fit. So I think it's critical for disabled people, it should be really viewed in the context of this continuum.
Good point, and well taken. One wonders what the drivers might be to affect change towards a more positive, ergonomically designed environment. Injuries and illnesses increasing, workers' compensation, retraining costs, absenteeism, and the decrease in output and productivity. You'd think that would be, a factor persuading companies to take it more seriously, because it's hurting their pockets. Also, one wonders, does it need to be mandated in some very specific health and safety related way? Maybe insurance related for a company looking after its employees. How are these factors likely to evolve over the next 10 plus years, Andrew, do you think?
Well, to begin with, I mean, we all hoped that the COVID situation would cause us to have a little bit of a rethink and build back better, and build back in a more human way. I mean, both, recognizing what's important, but, sometimes these forces, it doesn't look necessarily will have that. But I am optimistic. I mean, one thing is, I said, because we have an aging population and we have a shrinking working age population, there's going to be more recognition that the people who are working and who are often older, need to be healthy to continue that. And I think so that between governments and also the private sector, I mean, I don't think each individually can get this to happen, but I think together, if there's more focus on it is worth the investment, but it's worth the investment both from a business viewpoint, from a tax viewpoint, also from a human viewpoint. As I said, I'm sure that Reidar can give us numbers. I wouldn't be surprised 10, 15, 20 to 1, return on investment. So that it becomes the business community and the government sector working together to say, we want every person as fit as possible for work. We want everyone's working environment to be as good as possible so they can be productive both in the workplace and in their outside the workplace life. So I think we'll get there for those reasons. So I'm optimistic on that. I mean, there are many things I'm pessimistic about the world, but on this particular issue of a better working environment for people to be productive and healthy and the forefront of ergonomics, I think we'll get there the next decade.
Well, I'm a big believer in, using the case study example, whether you had two buildings next to each other and showed, very poor ergonomics next to one which is very well designed, and showed the benefits, examples that can be illustrated. A plant with 50 employees has, lower production because of lack of ergonomics. It can save up to, $250,000 with, better safety ergonomic health program. And, less injuries. It's like understanding how the body works, how to maximize efficiency levels by understanding fundamentally what we're about. Can you see, almost a development in the application of the science, if you like, of health, how that will in fact make the change, particularly because of the pandemic. We're a lot more focused on our own physicality than we ever were. This may have a natural spillover into the world of work, which has already got a big question mark. How many will be coming home, staying at home to work, or actually going back to the office? What's your thoughts?
So I think if you think about kind of the totality of someone being healthy, and maybe we could break it into three buckets here. I mean, there's, let's call it brain capital for the moment. There's physical health. And then there's this kind of ergonomic thinking we're doing here. And actually, if you look at those three, they're all critical. But the ergonomic thinking is probably the most advanced, to be honest. So if you go back, for example, to the back injuries, the 7 million back injuries in the United States a year, why are there 7 million back injuries? I mean, what the video said was 20 to 40% of them could be prevented by better ergonomic design. But that means that 60 to 80% of them can't be. Why is that? Well, of course, in the United States, we have a very high rate of obesity. We have other health issues that come along. So I actually think in terms of, you think of kind of all three of those dimensions that I've discussed, the physical health, the ergonomics, the brain capital, are all critical. But the ergonomics is actually the most advanced. On the physical side, the U.S. and many countries need to pay much more attention to, basic nutrition, the way people eat, the way that they exercise, the way exercise is introduced to young people, how it becomes lifelong. I know in my own case, I mean, just from my ergonomic viewpoint, I prefer working on a Fitball, though I'm not on one at the moment, which is a bit sad on that. That's helped me enormously. But the other thing that I do at my age, I'm almost 60, Paul, as you know, is I do yoga. And yoga is very strong for back health. So I think that in addition to kind of focusing on the workplace and the science of ergonomics, we have the science of physical movement in general, and a lot more physical activity is needed, particularly, as I said, I'm a fan of yoga, Pilates, of things like that to do that. So I hope that in the way this moves forward for companies and for countries is not just what equipment is used at the workplace to optimize it, but what else do people have to do in their life to make sure that they have lifelong health and they want strong. I mean, people, if the stronger you are, the better you feel, the more fulfilling your life is going to be in the workplace and outside the workplace.
I think I couldn't agree more. It seems that, ergonomics begins with, the study of the self. What lifestyle do we lead? What habits have we picked up over the way? I had the benefit of a sports analyst, advanced sports analyst, do a kind of health check on me. And you realize that, what you absorb within your routines, you'll find evidence, usually in my case, the lower spine. And it's evidence of all the things you've been doing wrong over the years, whether it's poor gym exercising or lack of exercise. So it's like your own ergonomics almost starts with your own body to understand how to prevent the problem escalating regardless of the environment you may happen to be working in. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, I think that part of the problem for that is when you think about what you just said, Paul. You had problems later in life, and then you kind of did the reverse engineering of what led to them. Obviously, a better strategy for the person and the company and the country would be if young people were sort of taught at the beginning. Embrace exercise, but what are the mechanics? I mean, we teach become a kind of a core subject. I mean, you're going to live in this body for we all hope a long time, 80, 90, 100 years. Maybe if we invest a little bit more time in teaching young people how that actually works and what are the implications of that, and how do you then have a long, healthy life, and what exercises. And part of the problem is certainly in Canada, where I'm originally from, I think the UK, the United States, is that when we think of physical activity in sports for kids, we're very much into this kind of competitive sports and the elite athletes. And that's absolutely fine. We're all inspired by it. And of course, we have the Olympics right now. But what we need is a more general physical strength, health across the nation. So then what has to happen when children are 5 years old, 8 years old, 11 years old to get those to be habits for life? And then, of course, I'm sure that Reidar would say, if you had kind of a healthy, strong physical body from outside the workplace and you combine it with good ergonomic design in the workplace, that combination is just unbeatable. And, in the U.S. context, we go from 7 million back injuries a year to 1 million or something like that. That's what I would like to see, those things working together. So, I mean, as positive as all the things Reidar and the industry are doing, they're not sufficient to really get to where we need to get to.
Well, I'm going to ask you just to stay with us, Andrew. Thank you for that answer. It's moved us into understanding how generationally, the better solutions may be communicated by the lessons learned from, our older generation, as it were. We have another guest, the CEO owner of Labmodul, waiting in the wings, Reidar, who I know very well, whose products are ergonomically designed for their clients. So let's pause for a break and understand how Labmodul ensures safety and design that are of ergonomic benefit for us all. We'll be right back.
Today, I woke up on a wild ride. Right in the middle of a river. It takes me to some pretty unexpected drops. I rode a bunch of highs and lows. I screamed at the top of my lungs. Just when I thought it was over, there was another thrill waiting around the corner. And for however long I stayed for the ride, it's always an adventure.
Welcome back, and you're still watching with us live here in the Filipinos World. For our radiantly glowing skin, use Nikki's Sparkling Skin, and you can follow them on Facebook at Nikki's Sparkling Skin. For your cooling services, you may contact Envirocool at envirocool.ph. Ergonomics and safety must be considered at every step in the value chain, and designing safety into a process is cheaper than retrofitting for safety later. Ergonomics is both a social goal that is for the well-being and economic goal that is for the total system performance. Ergonomics is looking for design solutions in both the technical and organizational environment. More to discuss about ergonomics in safety and design, we have with us here the CEO and owner of Labmodul A, live from Copenhagen, Denmark, Mr. Reidar Rasmussen. Hi, Reidar. Good morning there in Denmark. Welcome to the Filipinos World.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to have the opportunity to be here.
All right. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks.
You must have waken up so early in the morning.
Oh, yes. I'm fine.
Okay, thank you for doing that for the benefit of our viewers here in the Filipinos World. All right, let me start this. For our viewers to understand what Labmodul does as a company, can you tell us about or share to us about what you do, that you integrate ergonomic design as one of your leading products, as one of your concept in your products?
Well, in Labmodul, we are designing and manufacturing furniture for laboratories and for the health and educational sectors globally. Mm-hmm. Now, we come from a country that are very aware of wellness and ergonomic. And ergonomic has two ways of being approached. One thing is the whip, and the other is the carrot. I mean, it can have an economic value for each of the company to do the investment in ergonomic. That's one thing. But it doesn't work for all companies. You cannot have them to make the investment. That's why in a country like Denmark especially, there is a lot of focus on ergonomic from the government side as well. So we have the norms that the companies have to fulfill. And we have regulations and laws. There's also, each company has to make an evaluation of the workplace every second year, which involves the employees on how their workplaces are. And they have to fulfill certain requirements for that. So one thing is the government. The other thing that motivates companies is, of course, the benefit of gaining financially on these kind of investments.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So the motivation is not just because of the government regulation, but more so because you have seen, or vital to you is the human factor, considering the design and safety of adopting this ergonomic, ergonomic framework. Your company existed already for more than 20 years, am I right? Or
near 50
years. All right. So what's the company primary vision in providing high-end products that uniquely adopt not just the comfortability in workplaces, but also primarily to safety?
Well, safety and economic goes hand in hand, kind of. Because if you have a very bad economic work environment, you also have a workplace where accident can happen. Mm-hmm. So it's not just about the individual that are lifting or sitting properly. It's a matter of looking at the whole workplace and the work functions. Mm-hmm. Globally, there are several different standards that must be met, such as the EU standard, or we have the American standard. And there's a lot of countries that are relying on these standards and are applying them because they don't have standards themselves. And in addition, we have other countries, especially in Scandinavia, that have even higher requirements than the EU norm or the American norm for safety and ergonomics. So as a manufacturer, we need to cover the whole area. And I think that's one of the things that make us one of the leading when it comes within the ergonomic solutions.
Okay, let's highlight this. One of the practice design that you have with regards to your furniture system, and that is about the workplace lighting. In your catalog for furniture system, it's specifically focused on the workplace lighting as the best practice design, which mentioned 80% of the information is processed visually. How did Labmodul conceptualize and design the right lighting for a workplace, and how would you consider, or how do you consider lighting as main part of the ergonomic guidelines?
Well, in order to understand light and actually design a product that fulfills the purpose, we had to employ some people with knowledge in the field. So we hired a very skilled architect that we knew at that time already have won a Red Dot Award for the other lighting products. We also hired an industrial designer to assist to the development into a product that was suitable for small or large scale production. The outcome of that 1 year project is our service bridge with the integrated work light. We consider work light to be one of several important factors for a safe and good working environment. The visual is essential for safety, especially in a laboratory facility, but also for well-being and for good working environment. For example, you have a laboratory, if you have a bad mix of chemicals, it really can cause serious damage, such as fire, aggressive liquids can come out of it, or in worst case, explosions. So, you need to see what you're doing. A lot of processes are performed today with very advanced equipment for analyzing and other things. You see it in hospitals and so on. Valid data is absolutely necessary, so all human errors must be minimized during these processes. Like wrong data in a hospital, it will cost life.
All right, thank you. I'm in awe with what just the video feed had shown about the lighting, the workplace lighting as one of your design or one of your products. I would like to put on board here Paul, because Paul, I know that you definitely have some questions for Reidar, and obviously you both know each other. Paul?
Absolutely. I had the pleasure of actually visiting Reidar in his office, which is more of a demonstration office, and I saw the equipment sitting behind Reidar there, and I have a few questions. One is based on how ergonomics features within the design process. So what we're looking at has already had ergonomics factored into it. I'm just curious if you can maybe talk us through some of the processes that are unique to ergonomically designed furniture and lab equipment. And the second thing is on the subject of standards. A lot of the world follows US standards or European standards, particularly if they don't have any of their own. And I imagine, you could be a pioneer with the experience you have for your equipment in certain parts of the world, possibly Asia, where you're helping to introduce a standard that doesn't exist before. How do you see that possibly working to your favor, not just as a company, but also to help educate how somebody else can learn to introduce better standards? So 2 questions there for you, Reidar.
Yeah. If we take your last question first, we see a trend. Before it was more about what is the cost for 1 square meter of facility or 1 meter of workplace and stuff like that. And that was what manufacturers was competing about, making a cheap product, not a better product necessarily, but a cheaper product. So, but the trend now, anyway, in Europe and what we offer in a lot of places, let's say in China, they have a lot of skilled companies and they have a lot of cheap products. We actually did for one of the biggest companies called Sinobioway, which is within the pharma industry, all the designing and everything for their laboratories with their architects, with their end users and everything to put in the ergonomic and the safety into the laboratory facility. Of course, they also needed a facility that they could give access to, for example, several universities in America that wanted to come there and should be there to develop products and stuff like that. So they had to achieve a higher standard that maybe is even more normal than what they do in China. Now, we see clients, especially within the pharma industry, like GlaxoSmithKline, Pfizer, and other we are working with, where we are doing the initial design phase together with the client. So they will define a company that they want to work with doing their facilities, and then the company can pick it up from there. Then it's not just a matter of price, but it's a matter of everything. And it's a good investment. I mean, a lot of money is spent of educating people, attract people, also, especially when it comes to research and science. And if you have to minimize the situation where people are getting injured on the job because the value of that person is so high. Can also be from a government view, where in Denmark hospitals are free, doctors are free, medicine is free and stuff like that. So now it's the government's problem, not the individual. So if the individual gets sick, the government have an interest that so few people that's possible don't get sick, you know. It'll cost the society too much money.
Well, I was having this discussion with Andrew, and hopefully we'll get him back at the back end of the program to talk about, you know, people as the most valuable asset in the workplace, needing to be, you know, more care given to them. And this has been drawn into sharp focus because of the pandemic. You realize the value of your employee much more now, particularly where in some cases they're a scarce resource. I've got one more question for you before I'm going to hand back to Agnes, Reidar. We touched on this already, but again, I'm curious just at the most practical level you can illustrate when it comes to, you know, setting a benchmark for illuminating a workplace. You know, what can you say that somehow you know instinctively, intuitively, it's built into all your designs, but we perhaps still make the same mistake and create health-related problems, back injuries, etc., etc. Can you give us an example of something that you think, you know, people maybe take for granted or are unaware, and yet it's there in your world so easily, you know, put right?
Well, if we are taking the subject work light, we need to understand what light is. The significant factors that have been essential in the development of our product for optimal work life. It's the work object, actually, or the work surface that must be illuminated with suitable brightness, which we refer to as lux. That's the measure that are used for work light. It can be achieved by general lighting in the room, special lighting, daylight, or a combination of those. For most types of works, the required values are between 200 and 500 lux. This is what you find in a normal workplace from the ceiling lights and stuff like that. While 1,000 lux and 1,500 lux are required for more lighting demanding work tasks. The quality of light means a lot. Light distribution across the workplaces means a lot. The light must not dazzle, the light must not give annoying reflection, and the lightning must not emit annoying heat, which is also very important.
And is this an example?
The direction and the hardness of the light plays a major role in the perception of the shape.
And that list you've just described sounds like, you know, the de facto benchmark for what lighting should be all about.
Yeah.
I've seen Andrew's joined us again. Andrew, do you have a question you might like to put to Reidar?
Yeah, I mean, I think this issue about lighting is fascinating, and it really shows people might not think about all of this. But yeah, I have a question. What do you think are some of the most innovative things your company has done, just for the audience today? Just things that might surprise, or really cool applications of the ergonomics idea that really make a big difference for the individual and the company.
Well, in order to answer that, I have to rely on what our customer says when we get the feedbacks. We do a safety thing called a fume cupboard. That's where it's like a box where you're mixing chemicals or working with dangerous processes. So it's about protecting the user for whatever you're doing inside.
Behind you, isn't there? There's one behind you, Reidar, or not?
No, there's no. I hope not.
Okay.
Then we're talking about slanted windows, stuff like that relieves your neck and stuff like that. Increased work light, adjustable work light, and things are height adjustable.
How much difference is the height adjustable? I mean, tell us more about the impact of having height adjustable tables.
Hello.
Well, the height adjustable thing means a lot. I mean, if you take a Chinese worker, we are normally met with a demand of for standing height of 85 centimeters, for example. If we take the European or the American standard, I mean, the humans are getting taller and taller. Then it has to be increased by 10 to 15 centimeters in order to have a good work position where you don't get shoulder problems or other things. So height adjustable is a very, very important thing, that you can adapt your workplace, because you may use the same workplace. Many people may use the same workplace.
Agnes, I believe you have a few questions for Reidar as well.
Well, Paul, that was already covered. I think Andrew had mentioned that. But I want to ask the three of you, this is your own personal perspective. So let me start with Reidar. What are your words of wisdom you want to leave to imprint to businesses who are centered into eliminating risk of work injuries, as they see human factor important within the workplace? And that's for you, Reidar. And for Andrew, where do you see Asia, and in particular Philippines, adopt and implement ergonomics in workplaces for safety of its employees? And I know you have lots of things to share with us. And to you, Paul, how do you see light for an ergonomic workplace or environment that all of us revolve around for movements as we do as individuals? Let's start from Reidar, please.
Could you please tell me the question again, because it just...
Your words of wisdom you want to leave to businesses, to imprint to businesses who are centered into eliminating risk in the work as for work injuries.
Well, the first one is to learn from other and their experiences.
Yeah.
And look into best practice within the field, whatever field the companies are working in. Yeah. Look into other countries' norms and standards and try to apply them. And check the statistic over work-related injuries, because they are very clear, where it's easy and cheap to do an effort.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you for that, Reidar. Andrew, please.
Well, I think for the Philippines, I think the message from the show today and from Reidar is, this should be on the agenda. And I think it's sometimes easy at the Philippine stage of development to think that this is something that only rich countries can afford or should be investing in. But I mean, if you aspire to be a world-class company working at the world-class dimension on everything, this has to be part of it. But also, I think even at any stage of development, any country, investing in things that make it safer, easier to work and increase productivity are going to pay off. So while I think there's this mental model that maybe, this isn't relevant for us in the Philippines, so the Philippine business leaders listening to us today, I would urge them to say, no, that is just not accurate. I think if you look carefully at the mathematics of investing in ergonomic workplace, you're going to find that it pays off, right away for your company.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. And Paul, please.
So I would say this may sound like a little bit of whimsy, but it's not meant to be. I wish there were better lighting in the gym before I did this. So I would have maybe not dropped the weight on my toe, but the same shoe I've just shown is a genius piece of ergonomic design.
Can you show that? Can you show that to us again, Paul? Closer.
You just want to check.
How was that?
You want to check that I'm able to get my leg up high at my tender age. So lighting is absolutely so important. Because you're going to bump into things, you're going to drop things, you're going to, and it's a kind of like, it's not just being clumsy, which I also am a little bit, but it's like have an environment where accidents are taken out. The incidence level of an accident has better design incorporated if it's thought about from start to finish. And as the question I put to you, Reidar, was, where and how does ergonomics fit into the design process for a designer at this sort of intuitive human level? It's a question for us all, really.
It's about learning from mistakes, and in your case, I mean, if you're on the construction site, there is a demand for safety shoes for the workers. Maybe we should implement the same in fitness centers.
Yeah, that should be. Maybe Paul, were you wearing a slipper while being in the gym at that time?
Yeah, I had a soft shoe.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Live from Abuja, Nigeria, the world economist, Dr. Andreas Nevin, and live from Copenhagen, Denmark, the CEO and owner of Labmodul A, Mr. Reidar Rasmussen, and live from Vilnius, Lithuania, the TFW executive producer, Mr. Paul Markevicius. Gentlemen, stay with us. We will be right back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Live here in the Filipinos World. I'd like to greet some friends watching with us live. Cleo, Jane, Mon Garrido, Guillermo, Tanate. Who else? Bon Amalia watching from Dunkirk, and he's saying hi to Boss Reidar. Glenda Basan, Chris Malaiba watching from Laguna. May Ann watching from Cagayan de Oro. She said, nice topic watching here. Very nice laboratory design and concept. Garrido said, excellent product concept. And thank you so much. All right, Naz, you're with me.
All right, ma'am. For suggestions, comments, feedback, please get in touch via our email address, thefilipinosworld@gmail.com. You may also follow us on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube channel, The Filipinos World. If you want to become one of our sponsors, please send us your intent via email, thefilipinosworld@gmail.com. If you want your story to be featured in The Filipinos World and you believe you are one of the Filipinos who inspire other Filipinos, please let us know and write us an email at thefilipinosworld@gmail.com.
We wish to thank all our guests to grace us this afternoon here in the Filipinos World. Dr. Nevin from Abuja, Nigeria. The World Economist, Mr. Reidar Rasmussen, live from Copenhagen, Denmark, the CEO and owner of Labmodul A. Mr. Paul Markevicius, of course, the TFW executive producer, live from Vilnius, Lithuania. Paul, I hope you're okay there in Lithuania. You are. All right.
Yes, very much. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Next week will be another episode as we hope to be joined by Miss Dita Sendico. She is the world-renowned visual designer, and Miss Julie Ang, spiritual healer, as they will discuss on the power of healing inner self, live here only in the Filipinos World. So please stay tuned with us. Nazh?
Wow, powerful topic, Ms. Agnes. And the Filipinos World would like to thank Mr. Paul Markevicius, EP, our technical team engineer John Sandigo, and engineer Ernie Banzon, station manager Ms. Jean Serejijos, social media team Mount Mount, kaagapay ako ng OFW KSA, and to all our supporters and viewers at the Filipinos World. The Filipinos World would like also to thank Labmodul, EnviroCool, and Nikki's Sparkling Skin. For this, we say we bring Filipinos closer to the world, we bring the world closer to the Filipinos, and Filipinos closer to each other.
This is Vierka TFW Agnes, along with the CEO of Bakwit Incorporated, Mr. Nazh-Far Mariwa Berganio, thanking you for watching with us here in the Filipinos World. Paul, Reidar, and Andrew, thank you so much for gracing here in the Filipinos World. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you,
nice
Andrew.
weekend.
Thank you, Radar. Thank you, Naz.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.